When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject, hatched. User, Bub75KN. Posted, September 17th, 1995.
I've been hunting in the Ocala National Forest since I was 15 years old. Seen wild boar up close. Took a gator clear through the eye socket once. I don't scare easy, but I saw something out there 2 days ago that I ain't ever gonna forget. Something off, something that shouldn't exist, and I watched it kill my best friend in a way no man should ever have to see. His name was Daryl. We hunted together for 19 years, since we were both dumb kids with shotguns and no permits. We tracked deer all the way down into the big scrub and back up to Salt Springs, usually for the meat, but sometimes just to get the hell away from people. Daryl was the kind of guy who knew every tree by name. He could gut a buck in under 3 minutes and tell you what it ate that morning just by looking at the stomach. He was my best friend, and now he's gone. We set up camp near Farles Lake on August 31st, planned to stay 3 nights, cook over the fire, drink some wild turkey, and maybe get a shot at one of those fat velvet bucks we'd seen on trail cam last year. First day was normal. Weather was humid, but calm. Bugs weren't too bad. We even caught a catfish and cooked it up with some onions Daryl brought in a cooler. We laughed until midnight, talking about the old days, the kind of easy talk that only happens between 2 men who've seen each other through divorce, debt, and death. Second night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a weird sound. Not an animal call, not a branch snap. It was a sucking noise, wet and slow, like something dragging a mop across concrete. I figured it was just water runoff or some raccoon rooting around, but Daryl was already up, flashlight in hand, scanning the tree line. I remember him whispering, "Bob, you hear that? Sounds like something breathing." The woods went quiet, dead quiet. Not even the damn crickets were chirping, and that's when I knew we weren't dealing with a hog or a bear. We both grabbed our rifles and crept out from the tent real slow, and that's when we saw the tracks. They were in the mud between our tents and the fire pit. Long drag marks with little crescent-shaped indents along the sides, like something huge had slithered through, but not smooth like a snake. It had mass. Whatever it was, it had weight. It pushed the earth down in thick, heavy lines. We followed the trail maybe 30 yards until it vanished under a patch of palmettos. Daryl wanted to keep going. I didn't. I told him to wait for daylight. He said something was watching us and that he felt it behind his teeth. That was the last thing he ever said to me. He stepped into the brush ahead of me, maybe 10 feet, and I was behind him, sweeping with a flashlight, and that's when it happened. There was a blur in the treetops. I heard a branch crack, not like it snapped, but like it exploded, and then Daryl was gone. Lifted, just gone. 1 second he was there, the next he was screaming, high-pitched, panicked, nothing like the Daryl I knew. I screamed his name, I saw the flashlight spinning in the air, then I heard this noise like meat tearing mixed with a hiss so deep it rattled my chest. I swear to God, it sounded satisfied, like it was enjoying it, like it had done this before. I saw it for maybe 3 seconds when my flashlight caught its body. It wasn't a snake, not like we know them. This thing was the length of a box truck, thick as a telephone pole. Its scales were wet and black, almost translucent, and they shimmered like oil in the beam. But what got me were the limbs. It had these crooked, malformed arms, 4 of them, splayed along its middle like a goddamn nightmare centipede, and it used them to hold Daryl. I could see his legs kicking. His head hit a branch and bent the wrong way, and then it coiled around him and squeezed. I heard his ribs go like popcorn in a microwave. Blood sprayed out in a fine mist. Some of it hit my face, warm and sticky. I didn't even wipe it off. I just stood there, frozen, like a child hiding from the boogeyman. It looked down at me. It knew I was there, but it just let me go. I ran, and I don't even remember doing it. I just remember falling, screaming, getting tangled in brush, and running blind until I hit the lake and collapsed. I sat in the water for over an hour, shaking, holding my rifle across my chest like it would do a damn bit of good anyway. They still haven't found Daryl's body. The Rangers said it was probably a panther. They said maybe we were drinking and he fell, but I've seen panther kills. I've seen what bobcats and gators do too, but this was surgical, deliberate. There was barely anything left where it took him. Just a patch of flattened grass and a smear of blood across the pine bark 6 feet up. The weirdest part even was that the next morning, the drag marks were gone. Like someone came in overnight and just swept the woods clean. No prints, no blood, just emptiness. But I know what I saw. But I don't know what that thing was, and I don't care if you believe me. I ain't going back to that part of the forest anyway. I burned everything we left behind, even left Daryl's cooler, his gear, our tent, everything in ashes. But I need to say this right now. If you're planning to camp near Farrell's Lake or anywhere in the Ocala stretch, don't. And if you start smelling something sweet and rotting at the same time, you need to leave. And most of all, if the forest goes quiet, just run. Because I saw what it does. I saw how it kills, and I don't think it's done yet.
Subject: The Lady of Greywood. User: S33 Kirks. Posted October 22nd, 1996.
I really don't know if what I'm about to tell you is true. That's the thing about stories like this. Somebody always swears it happened, but nobody ever really knows for sure. You just hear it enough times from enough people, and Eventually, it starts to feel real, like it's always been true, like it was waiting for someone to finally write it down. So that's what I'm doing. There's this house outside of Lenox, Greywood, they call it. You've probably seen it if you've ever taken the back way out past the sawmill and into the old part of town. It sits way back off the road behind a stone gate with these twisted lilac bushes growing along the edge of the fence. The place is huge, slate roof, real heavy shutters, chimneys that look like they belong on a castle. Most of the paint's gone gray and the porch sags a little, but somehow it still looks proud, like it remembers what it used to be. I grew up just a few miles down the road. Used to ride my bike past it when I was 10 or 11. Even then, we called it the ghost house. Not because anything ever jumped out or screamed or chased us, nothing like that. Just something in the way it stood there, quiet, waiting, like it had something to say, but wouldn't unless you asked just right. And always, it was that window. East side of the house, ground floor, second from the front. The glass in that window isn't like the others. It's old, real old. The kind of glass that ripples when the sun hits it, like water. You can see your reflection in it, but it always looks off, like it's remembering a different version of you. And that's where people say she appears. The Lady of Greywood. Now, there's about 100 different versions of her story, and every single one of them starts the same way, with a woman who waited too long. Some folks say she was a governess in love with the man who owned the house. Others say she was his wife and he left her for someone younger. I even heard once she was a piano teacher who fell ill before her wedding and died with her bridal gown still folded in a trunk upstairs. Doesn't matter which version you hear, though. It always ends the same. She's still there, waiting at that window, watching for someone who never came home. They say if you walk up to that pane of glass and look in, really look in, you'll see her standing behind you. Not like a horror movie, not bloody or screaming, just there, still, almost kind, like she's watching to see if you might be the one. My cousin Mark says he saw her once, on a dare in 9th grade. Said he walked right up to the window, palms sweating, and stared inside. Nothing happened at first, but then he saw a reflection behind his shoulder. Just a shape, a pale one, like someone in a nightgown. He turned around and there was nobody there, but when he looked back at the window, she was gone. He won't talk about it anymore. Other people have said she only shows herself to those with a broken heart. Some say you have to speak her name to see her, but no one knows what her name is. There was this old woman at church who claimed she used to clean the house back in the 60s, back when it was empty for a stretch, and she swore the name Eliza was scratched into the parlor floorboards, but nobody's ever found that again. I started writing this all down because of what happened last week. I was out driving with my friend Mason and his girlfriend. We weren't looking for trouble, just cruising, listening to Smashing Pumpkins and trying to stay awake. But when we passed Greywood, something made us stop. The house looked different that night, like it was lit from the inside, even though there weren't any lights on. The moon hit that east window just right, and I swear to you, it looked like someone was standing behind it. Not clearly, just a shape, a soft blur. You ever look through your car window when it's fogged up and see something you think might be there? It was like that. We didn't go up to the porch. Hell, I didn't even get out of the car, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Not because I'm scared, and not exactly. It's more like sad. I keep wondering what she's waiting for. If she even knows anymore, or if she's just caught in that house, looking out that same window night after night after night, hoping someone finally remembers her. I know a couple lives there now, moved in maybe 6 or 7 years ago. The man's older, looks like he doesn't want to be bothered. I think he tried to keep people away and put up lights, maybe even called the sheriff a few times, but the window still draws folks in. You'll see them parked on the shoulder sometimes, just sitting in their cars and staring. I don't know if she's real. I don't know if anyone's ever truly seen her, but I do believe she's there. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe ghosts aren't about proof. Maybe they're just the parts of stories too strong to let go. The waiting, the heartbreak, the quiet parts nobody talks about. So, if you're ever out near Lenox and you see that old house with the slate roof and the lilacs and the lights just right, pull over. Walk up to the east side, and if you see her in the window, don't run. She's not angry. She's just waiting.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.